Ingay yung aso na.
Okay na tayo, June. Sir June.
Apo, ma'am. Apo, ma'am. At ano, ma'am? 2 minutes daw po.
Ilalive ko na lang po sa Facebook.
Ma'am Sonny. Hi.
Hi po, kamusta po?
Okay, po.
Hindi pa rin kayo nagpupunta ng house?
Po.
Hindi pa rin kayo nagpupunta ng house?
Hindi pa, ma'am. Kasi yung 25 selected lang nila ang allowed at this time.
Pero magkakaroon din po kayo ng mga committee meeting,
Yes,
committee hearing.
May schedule po ako next week.
Okay.
Regular committee hearing ng Committee on Health. And then in the coming days, we're scheduling po joint congressional oversight hearing with Senator Bongo on universal health care. And then we might tackle sa DCC, subcluster ng health, yung priority bill po on the creation of CDC.
Virtual din po yun.
Most
Kasundin.
likely, virtual din po.
Pero naririnig niyo ako. Sir Ed,
Salita ako maririnig doon.
Sir Ed, narinig na kita.
Okay. Ako.
Sir Ed, kumusta? Good afternoon po.
Okay lang. Okay lang. Kumakain pa ako eh. Kumakain pa.
Kumakain pa. Mag-start na po tayo.
Sige lang. Nakikinig ako.
Sige po, tatanong kayo. Sige po. Ay, pa Sir Ed talaga. Gutom ah. Sir Ed. Ayos ah.
Matatapos na ng newscast eh.
Oo nga eh. Yan ang new normal eh, no? Sir Ed.
Oo, ito na.
Yan ang
Ito na new normal.
Oo nga eh. Ganito na tayo.
Sir June, start na
Ay,
tayo.
yes, ma'am. Ay, po, attorney. Pwede na. Hello, Ma'am Daphne. Mag-start na po tayo.
Nag-live na po.
Victoria. Alive na po.
Sige po.
Start na po tayo.
Start na tayo. Attorney.
Apo.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Hindi ko na po kayo isa-isahin na. Good afternoon. Maraming salamat po sa pakikiisa dito sa ating pong press con. As one of the principal authors of the landmark Universal Healthcare Act, allow me to squarely respond to the issue of the additional PhilHealth rates for our overseas Filipino workers. The scheduled increase in the PhilHealth premiums is in accordance with the provision under the RA 11223, otherwise known as the UP. The increase in premium rates cuts across all sectors, falling under the direct contributors category, or those who have the capacity to pay premiums, which are gainfully employed and are bound by an employer and employee relationship, or self-earning professional practitioners, migrant workers, including their qualified dependents and lifetime members. If I may add lang po, doon sa employer-employee relationship, included doon ang kasambahay, under the Kasambahay Act, more than 5,000 ang kanilang salary. And in self-earning, kasama po dito yung ating mga magtitinda sa palengke or yung may mga maliliit na karinderya or sari-sari stores. The OFW of the premium hike. I fully recognize the great sacrifice that our OFWs, our modern-day heroes, had to go through to work in a place far away from home just to support their struggling families. I clearly understand their sentiments that they too are victims of COVID-19 pandemic. But so far, the rest of the world who are considered direct contributors under the National Health Insurance Program are also affected. The UHC was enacted based on certain foundational issues relating to health systems and people's access to health services. We have pitifully neglected the state of our health systems for so long, and now we are paying heavily for the consequences of our collective shortcomings. We need more doctors and other health workers. We need to construct and upgrade more health facilities. We need to provide medicines for the sick. We need to put quality in the provision of health services. And we need to cover all Filipinos under the National Health Insurance Program to ensure that no one is left behind. Now, we have finally realized that we need to invest more and we need to invest better in the health of our people. That is what the UHC law is all about. But it entails a lot of expenditures, which explains why we need to increase PhilHealth premiums of all direct contributors, not just the OFWs. According to PhilHealth, premium collections of OFWs amounted to 1.02 billion last year, but benefits paid by the agency for the sector was 1.7 billion. It is very unfortunate that the first year of UHC implementation had to take off on the wings of two crises, the COVID-19 pandemic and the issue on premium payments. So as a chairperson of the Committee on Health and a co-chair of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee for UHC, I am willing to sit down with our stakeholders, especially the OFWs or their group, so we can address the concern while upholding the noble objectives of UHC law at the same time, which is exactly what we need during these difficult times. May I also take this opportunity to inform you that I have filed House Bill 6633 that seeks to modernize the country's preparedness to address public health emergencies. The Philippine health system, just like the great majority of national health systems the world over, is obliviously ill-prepared to address the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic. We are stumbling to handle the large influx of COVID-19 patients, and we will continue to do so with future respiratory pathogen infections unless we do something which is to upgrade the capability to face the major public health emergencies like this pandemic. House Bill 6633 has twofold objectives. Number one is to modernize the country's capabilities for the public health emergency preparedness. And number two, to strengthen the current bureaucracy that is mandated to address communicable diseases in the country through the organizational and institutional reforms. Through this measure, I am proposing the creation of Public Health Emergency Services Modernization Program, which will undertake necessary reforms in the recruitment, training, employment, and management of the country's public health emergency personnel, acquisition and upgrading of appropriate technologies, laboratories and equipment, and provision for needed relocation, improvement, and construction of facilities to enhance the country's preparedness and response to public health emergencies. It also aims to establish a Center for Disease Prevention and Control, which will serve as principal agency mandated to develop and apply communicable disease prevention and control initiatives. The bill seeks to remove the function of addressing the communicable disease concern from the Department of Health and transfer the same to CDPC, which will absorb the existing Disease Prevention and Control Bureau, the Epidemiology Bureau, the Disease Emergency Management Bureau, and the Bureau of Quarantine of the Department of Health, including RITM or Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. The CDPC will be attached to the DOH for policy, planning, and program and coordination. In doing so, the country will be able to provide a specialized agency for addressing communicable diseases. Amidst this pandemic, we have seen the importance of strengthening the RITM, so my proposal is to upgrade the authorized bed capacity of RITM to 100 beds, where one half or 50 bed capacity will be used as the negative pressure isolation rooms. RITM branches will also be established in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Following the Taiwan's model, the measure seeks to establish Public Health Emergency Command Center, which will serve as a physical location or virtual space where designated public health emergency management personnel will assemble to coordinate operational information and resources for strategic management of public health events and emergencies. So I am hoping that this bill, along with House Bill 6493, otherwise known as the Philippine Health Security Act, and House Bill 6514, which seeks to establish additional quarantine stations, grants, and anchorages in all strategic areas throughout the country, will be favorably considered by the House. Thank you so much and good afternoon.
Hello po. For questions po, please indicate na lang po your intention sa chat room po so that you will be acknowledged. Wait lang po.
June?
Yes, Sir Ed. Tanong kayo kay ma'am.
Sige, pwede ako mag-ask ng questions, please.
Kay ma'am.
Sige, sir.
Ed. Sige, Sir Ed.
Good afternoon, Congresswoman. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Ed Sarto of DCME. May I know, ma'am, under the Universal Healthcare Law, may provision ba talaga? Or ang sabi nila, walang provision on that law na yung sinasabing mandatory contribution ng mga OFWs? Kasi mukhang yun lang ang nakasira doon sa batas niya. Is it part of the IRR? Tama po ba, ma'am?
And part of the law, sir. So meron po tayong provision doon. Meron tayong nilagay na category of the contributors, no? So meron po tayong direct. Yung direct po, doon nakasama yung ating mga OFWs. At sinasabi po doon sa direct na kailangan magbabayad sila according to doon sa monthly salary nila, wherein yung table po, kung I don't know kung aware po kayo doon sa table wherein nakalagay po yung 3% in 2020,
Yes, ma'am.
Tapos nakalagay din po yun sa batas, hindi po sa IRR lamang, no? So I think yung concern po nila na wala doon sa batas na inilabas po sa implementing rules and regulation is kung papaano sila magbabayad, which is yun na nga po yung lumabas ngayon na reklamo nila na hindi sila makakakuha ng certificate of employment kung hindi nila fully babayadan. And then number 2, kailangan nilang magpakita ng proof of salaries, no? Na yun yung magiging basis kasi ng computation ng PhilHealth. So, mandatory po lahat tayo doon po sa batas na may mga trabaho na magbabayad po ng PhilHealth. So, yung PhilHealth po, nag-devise ng sistema siguro kung papaano nila makukumpel magbayad yung mga members or yung ating mga Pilipino na may mga trabaho.
Ma'am, if that is part of the law, may power ba si Presidente na iutos niya na mandatory na lamang or rather voluntary na lamang ang on the part of the OFWs yung kung gusto nila o hindi na mag-participate diyan sa PhilHealth na yan?
I believe, sir, it has to go through Congress, no? So, I think yung statement ni Presidente parang to guide, no, ang Congress mag-act on the problem na kinakaharap natin ngayon. Kung kaya nga po, immediately mag-schedule kami ni Senator Bongo para magpatawag po ng meeting with PhilHealth, DOLE, ang POEA, and OWA. Para po tingnan kung hindi po kasi natin gawin siya na mandatory, ang katulad ng na-mention ko po kanina, may mga other members po doon sa direct contributors na pwedeng magko-complain din sila na bakit sila mandatory tapos ang OFW ay gagawing voluntary lamang.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much po. Salamat po.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ed.
Sir June, Eden Santos po from Net25.
Hi, Ma'am Eden.
Kung follow up din po dun kay Kuya Eden, no? Ang pagkakabanggit ni
Ma'am Eden, napuputol po kayo.
Puputol ko. Ang nabanggit po kasi ni Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque ay yung DOH parang sinususpindi lang yung 10-2C nung IRR ng UHC habang merong pandemic. After the pandemic po, what would be the situation or ano pong mangyayari? Tuloy pa rin yung mandatory contribution sa mga OFW?
So yun po yung aming itatakel sa Joint Congressional Oversight. Yung 10-2C po kasi nakalagay doon, yun sa overseas Filipino workers, na nakalagay po yung sa implementing rules and regulation nila, yung yun nga na-mention ko earlier, yung submission ng acceptable proof of actual income, and then yung kailangan nila na magbayad before makakuha ng employment certificate. We need to discuss that sa congressional oversight kasi nga nasa batas na siya. No? But kung nasa implementing rules and regulation lang, IRR, anytime they can amend the IRR, the DOH and PhilHealth. Kasi sila naman ang task. They were tasked to do the implementing rules and regulation.
So hindi naman po kailangan yung buong batas ay kailangang amyendahan para lang maalis yung bahagi na yun yung provision na yun dun sa IRR po. DOH can do it na.
If nandun lang po sa implementing rules and regulation. Pero yung specific provision po ng batas, no, hindi nila po pwedeng basta i-suspend or i-cancel. It has to go through sa atin po sa Kongreso. So, mag-aamyenda po kami kung yun po ang magiging direction.
Meron din po bang move ang Kamara regarding to investigate yung sinasabi nilang mahigit 600 million na nawawala sa PhilHealth funds mula po sa mga contributions din?
Actually, yun pong problem doon sa PhilHealth has been a long problem and marami ng investigations na ginawa sa Kongreso, no? Even yung mga fraud na nangyayari, parang dekada na po yan na problema. We'll see po kung ngayon may lumabas po na resolution in the House, then we'll tackle that po.
Thank you po.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Ma'am Sonny, pwede ka na magtanong. Ayan, si Sandro.
Si Tita Zoni po ba? Magkatawag.
Hindi, ikaw na po, si Sandro.
Sandro.
Ma'am, i-clarify ko lang po na mention nyo na ano po yung gagawin ninyo ni Senator Bongo? Ano po yung, is it a hearing? Or?
Joint Congressional Oversight Hearing.
Joint Congressional Oversight Hearing.
Hello.
Opo, yes ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
So, doon sa may provision yung batas na mag-form ng Joint Congressional Committee to review yung ating batas. And ngayon, dahil may problema tayo na kinakaharap na may complaints on doon sa provision ng premiums of minabuti namin na mag-convene para pag-usapan kasi doon din malalaman natin ano yung magiging direction doon sa provision na yon. Ano ang dapat gawin? May kailangan bang amyendahan o baka doon sa implementing rules and regulation lang yung dapat ayusin?
And ma'am, if ever na kailangan talagang amyendahan, you're ready na amyendahan yung batas?
Kailangang mahabang usapin to, Sandro, no? The reason why is you are a direct contributor. I am a direct contributor. And that na-mention ko kanina, the tindera, the kasambahay, the drivers are direct contributors. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan tingnan natin yung patas na pagtingin sa lahat ng sektor. So, and then, doon sa Universal Healthcare Law kasi, yung pinaka-importante na tingnan natin, meron kasi doong provision na immediate eligibility ng mga Pilipino. Ibig sabihin, kung ako magkasakit, ako man ay nagbayad o hindi ng contribution ko, at the time na kailangan ko siya, kailangan hindi ako i-deprive ng isang facilities na bigyan ako ng kaukulang lunas. So, immediate eligibility. So, kung maging voluntary tayo, ang magiging repercussion yan, limbawa, okay, voluntary, isang OFW, hindi na siya magbabayad kasi nga meron daw silang insurance. Pero yung insurance nila sa ibang bansa, ito ba ay covered din ang dependents nila in the Philippines? Ngayon, kung hindi, anong mangyayari sa kanyang pamilya, sa dependents niya, no? Kung magkakaroon ng sakit, di ba hindi natin kailangang i-deprive? Sabi nung batas sinasabi, bawal na i-deprive mo siya. Ngayon, ang mangyayari, magkakaproblema tayo dahil sasabihin ng iba, ng ibang sektor, pwede naman pala hindi ako magbabayad, maa-avail ko yung services. Ba't pa ako magbabayad? So yung, alam mo yun yung mga posible na mangyayari. So we need to discuss doon sa Joint Congressional Oversight, ano yung tamang gawin doon sa sektor ng OFW, ano talaga yung complaints nila bukod doon sa 3%, o ano ang pwedeng alternative doon sa bigat ng 3%, baka pwedeng may ibibigay na certain na peg ng, kasi yun 10,000 to 50,000, diba? Parang ganon yung ceiling natin. So, yun yung titingnan siguro. But definitely, lahat kasi ng Pilipino, dahil yung social solidarity concept ng PhilHealth natin, lahat ng may trabaho dapat nagbabayad doon sa PhilHealth.
Okay na
Hello?
po ako. Thank you po.
Andro.
Thank you po. Okay na po ako. Thank you po.
Okay na yun? Okay.
Ate Sonny? Walang audio si Ate Sonny.
Kera. Ma'am Sonny, nakamute ka. Nakamute yung audio ni Ma'am Sonny.
Sir Jun, habang nag-ano si Ate Sonny, pwede po bang magsingit lang ako ng isa pang question, si Eden Santos sa Net25?
Ma'am, makikinig po.
Kung yung pong sa, ang binabanggit po kasi ng mga OFW, yung PhilHealth naman daw nila kasi, hindi naman ina-accredit sa ibang bansa. Paano kung doon sila magkasakit?
Tama,
Parang hindi
oo.
sila magagamit.
Oo, tama po kayo doon. Actually, lumabas po yan sa deliberation, no, ng universal healthcare. Kasi nga pagka nasa abroad sila. Pero ang paliwanag po ng PhilHealth ay hindi mo siya magagamit, pero pwede mong i-reimburse. So, ang problema I think ay yung proseso pag-reimburse, nahihirapan ang ating mga OFW. Kaya nung nag-hearing kami ng UHC ko, sinabi namin sa kanila to simplify the process, make it parang accessible and readily available sana. Kaya nga ang challenge sa kanila is to put up mga satellite offices in other countries, no? Hindi po totoo, according to PhilHealth, na hindi magagamit. Ang totoo, pwedeng i-reimburse. So somehow, indirectly, magagamit mo siya dahil i-reimburse mo siya. But I think ang clamor ng OFW dahil ang hirap for them to go to the office, may dokumento daw na kailangan pang i-comply. So yun yung inask namin sa PhilHealth to simplify yung process and din yung requirements.
Ma'am, kung pwede palang i-reimburse, dun sa mga iba pang member ng PhilHealth, pwede rin po nilang gawin yung kahit hindi sila OFW. Kung sila ay magiging beneficiary na lamang ng, kunwari, mag-asawa, pareho silang member, pero pwede nang isa na lang ang member, tapos beneficiary na lang niya yung asawa niya, yung contribution pa nung isa ay pwedeng i-reimburse po ba yon?
But ang contribution hindi, but the benefit. So halimbawa ang principal is the husband who is a OFW, tama? Yun po ba yung minimin nyo?
Sige, pwede na rin pong example yon.
Kung ang husband halimbawa OFW, ako Pilipina, nandito sa Philippines. Tapos na-hospitalize po ako. Definitely naman po magagamit yung PhilHealth. Merong mga incidents po na hindi immediately nila before nagagamit. So ang nangyayari, nag-out of pocket sila. Pero pwede pa rin po nila magamit basta yung resibo ikikip po nila and then i-reimburse po nila sa PhilHealth office. Pero this time po, wala na tayong ganon sa UHC. Immediate na po ang eligibility. So ibig sabihin, basta po meron pong Pilipino na nangailangan ng health services, pumunta sa isang facilities, kailangan ma-access mo yung services. Pero yon titingnan din, okay, ikaw ba may kakayanang magbayad? Kung wala kang kakayanan, gobyerno ang magsasubsidize sa'yo. Kung ikaw naman, kaya hindi active member kasi na-miss ng employer magbayad, yung employer naman ang sisingilin ng PhilHealth. Kung ikaw na may self-paying na mismo magbayad, still ma-avail nyo pa rin po ang services. Sa dati pong batas, dati pong PhilHealth law, hindi po yun applicable. Kailangan po ng 45 days or 90 days na nagbayad ng PhilHealth. But sa UHC po, hindi. Immediate ang eligibility. Ibig sabihin, palagi mong maa-access yung services na kailangan mo at the time of need.
Ma'am, last question na lang po bago si Ate Zoni. So ibig sabihin po yung decision ng Pangulo na suspendihin yung 3% rate hike sa PhilHealth contribution ng OFWs at saka mandatory contributions na lamang ay pansamantala lang po yun. Hindi pa pwedeng magsaya yung ating mga OFW dahil kailangan pang pag-usapan talakayin ito sa Joint Congressional Oversight Committee.
Yes, ma'am. Kasi doon po yung ika-clarify po natin doon sa statement is that for during the pandemic or kung yan po ba ay lifetime, no? Ibig sabihin whether mawala na yung COVID, ganun pa rin ang magiging proseso. Ibig sabihin kailangan po mag-amyenda talaga ng batas. Pero yun nga, na-explain ko po kanina, hindi po siya ganun kasimple in a sense na may mga direct contributors po tayo. Ang kailangan po natin, pare-pareho ang pagtingin sa ating lahat ng direct contributors. And yun na-mention ko earlier, i-reiterate ko lang po, kasama kasi sa direct contributors din natin, yung mga maliliit din na mandatory na sinisingilan. Katulad nga po nung nasabi ko kanina, may mga tindahan o nagtitinda at marami pang iba. So parang kailangan kung ganon bibigyan natin ng favor na ganon ang OFW, we have to be fair sa iba pang mga direct contributors.
Thank you po, Kong. Salamat.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Si Ma'am Zoni, magtatanong.
Yes, ma'am. Kung tanong ko lang, kasi halimbawa daw po ang isang OFW, 8 taon na siya na bago umuwi dito sa Pilipinas. Siyempre hindi siya nakakabayad ng PhilHealth. Hindi daw po ba siya masasama dun sa Universal Healthcare Law? Hindi niya ma-avail?
Kasi doon po sa batas, ma'am, technically all Filipinos, di po ba? Lahat ng Pilipino dapat nakapasok sa National Health Insurance Program. So kung 8 years siya nasa ibang bansa, ngayon i-determine po natin pagbalik ba niya, able to pay pa rin ba siya? So kung able at meron pa siyang source of income, definitely magbabayad siya. Ngayon, kung senior citizen na po siya, 65 years old, and wala na siyang trabaho, meron po tayong mandatory PhilHealth coverage for senior citizen. So pwede na siyang ma-cover po noon. So definitely, magbe-benefit pa rin po siya doon sa UHC natin.
Mm-hmm. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ma'am Zoni.
Iba.
Attorney?
Attorney.
Meron pa?
Hello, sir. Good afternoon po.
Meron pa po.
Wala na yata, attorney.
Okay.
Wala na.
Yung
Wala po.
kating habol.
Okay po, okay, Ma'am Zoni.
Kung yung pong itong House Bill na ipag-file niyo pa lang po ba ito or
Na-file na po.
ano
na-i-file
na pong
po
status niya?
So, na-refer po siya doon sa ad hoc Defeat COVID Committee. And then, maghintay na lang po ako ng schedule kasi merong mga related bills na naka-refer sa committee ko. Baka po in 2 weeks time, depende po sa schedule ng cluster kasi madami po yung mga sub-cluster na nag-schedule ng meeting. So yung health po, will request po kay Madjo at kay speaker na mai-prioritize ang
Pero ang content, sir, ang bill kung ipapile ninyo, para hindi na...
Thank you very much po, Kong.
Zoni.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Ma'am Sonny. Meron pa po.
Yeah, please, sir, para... Apo, sige po.
Maririnig ka.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Meron pa po. Attorney.
Okay.
May questions pa po ba? Wala na po sa sa chat room.
Okay na po.
Okay.
Okay na po rin ako.
Ay,
Ay, si
meron pa po.
Sandro.
Sige po.
Sandro.
Hindi po. Okay na po ako.
Okay na.
po.
Okay na.
Okay na po.
Okay,
Thank
sige
you, Sir
po.
Sandro.
Thank you po. Marami pong salamat.
Maraming salamat po for joining. Thank you so much po. I hope na-clarify yung ibang issues po. Thank you so much.
Thank you po.
Thank you, ma'am.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Salamat po.
Thank you, ma'am. Attorney, thank you.
Sige po. Thank you po.
Yung iba nag-record na, attorney. Thank you,
Opo.
ma'am.